Whether you're new to the My Time series or a huge fan who's been playing since Portia, My Time at Evershine is shaping up to be the most ambitious entry yet, and there's a ton to unpack from all of the dev announcements, updates, and the crumbs we've gotten so far. We'll quickly brush up on some history, tensions with Duvos, and lead into how this ties into Evershine. The chapters in the video from beyond this section will be small rabbit holes for each of those features, sharing literally everything we know so far. Let's dive right in. There's 4 major events that are referenced throughout the series: the Age of Corruption, the Day of Calamity, the Age of Darkness, and the Day of the Bright Sun. Basically, long ago, humans got super techy, then super destructy and nuked the planet to hell, then super cave dwelly and went to live underground for 200 years until a hero named Peach said, "Let there be light," and built a machine that cleared the darkness, got many to crawl back up to the surface, pretty much giving everyone their first sunburn in generations. Except for Duvos and a few others who kept their underground affiliations. All you need to know about Duvos is pretty much everyone hates them because they're bullies that are trying to expand into resource-rich areas and collect old-world technology with a very heavy military presence. Unfortunately for Ethia, Duvos is like their neighbor from hell. Both have been fighting over who has territory rights to the Orzu ruins. They've been trying to keep this conflict local, but after Duvos completely took over the ruins, the Kingdom of Seaside had to step in and say, "Hey, listen, we stand by Ethia, and if you overstep and attack Ethia beyond the Orzu region, we are going to have to get involved." It's worth mentioning there's also a very fragile relationship between Duvos and the Alliance of the Free Cities that is being held together by a peace treaty. The Alliance remains friendly with Ethia, and they're concerned about what's happening with Duvos and are pretty upset, especially after what happened in Portia and Sandrock. Right now, they have to remain pretty neutral due to the peace treaty, but do have to prepare for the worst. In response, the Alliance has launched the Northern Development Plan to move settlers into the area and establish a new city-state for better defense. Evershine is one of 6 new major settlements in the area, and this is where we come in. In Evershine, we will play as a governor recruited into the Northern Development Plan to build up the infrastructure, recruit settlers, tame the wilds, build our own settlement along with Northern Rangers, and defend it. This gives us even more freedom to build the world and adds a little bit of a twist to the gameplay loop. In Portia and Sandrock, we have played as builders completing commissions, and now we will be the ones running the town and our own development projects as well as recruiting NPCs. This means we get to decide who we want to recruit, what buildings and machines to build, who to man them, etc. We can have up to 3 settlers as our followers and ask them to do things like fight, guard, or even collect. Overall, this will allow us to make more and better products more efficiently. Better production and happy settlers means reaching a higher settlement level, which then allows us to tame the territories in the surrounding areas. Taming territories could mean anything from defeating bandit goons to rescuing cute animals, but once a land is tamed, more resources will appear as well as NPCs for the settlement. This allows the cycle to continue until no more territories are available in-game. In terms of main storyline, the gameplay loop will push the main storyline forward. Evershine is shaping out to be more adventurous with a clear-cut antagonist. From what I gathered, storyline will remain at the heart of gameplay, and the recruitment system feels like it's the second heart, both which are pretty interconnected with one another. The recruitment system sounds like it's going to be broken down in tiers or types of characters we'll meet as the story progresses. There will be a small group of characters who are core romanceables. We'll meet them through the main storyline or their own relationship arcs, and they will have the most content. Then we'll see about 20 or more named characters that are introduced by the main quests, side quests, recruitment, or some that are hidden. They'll have unique relationship stories, but less content than the core group. And last, there will be a random selection of NPCs with random traits that will be introduced to through recruitment. So they might share some common relationship arcs, but not any unique ones like we'll see in core and named. Once we have the settlers in town, we can put them to work and assign them roles. Again, fighting, guarding, farming, collecting, cooking, and probably more. This is where I'm pretty excited because this is where strategy seems to come into play. We'll want to be mindful of what roles we assign to which characters because this will have an impact on the overall well-being and productivity of our settlement. For example, we don't want someone who's more suited for fighting to be out feeding all the other settlers. Because from the sound of it, our settlers will let us know if the cooking sucks, they aren't getting enough sleep,
but did you ever think you'd really be living it? Watching paint dry.
Or if they're bored. The devs are also making more dynamic interactions between characters depending on their relationship with the player. Just for a fun example using the most popular bachelors, let's say you have Victor, Ragnar, and Avery all following you, and they're all in love with you. How could this unfold? Will they have snarky remarks directed at each other? Will they compete for our undivided love and attention, or get jealous at everything? What's really interesting for Evershine is how all these NPC interactions and relationships will affect their productivity and enthusiasm. We're ultimately responsible for their well-beings and probably shouldn't set them up for failure, or make them angry or jealous. Instead, we should focus on building deeper bonds because this not only gives us cool insights into their storylines, but will also make a positive impact on the development of our settlement, allowing us to progress further into the story. So, what does this mean for us as players? Different characters and groups in different scenes will provide different dialogue combinations. And no settlement makeup will ever be the same because we will have unique experiences through multiple playthroughs. More on this later. So now that we're here, we have core and non-core romanceable characters. The only difference is core romance characters have more dialogue and missions than non-core characters, but the relationships and perks remain the same. They'll still offer romance interactions and the sweet moments that make our time in the series worthwhile. So the confirmed core options are Victor, Ragnar, and Avery, Tia, Freya, and Panna, and by player votes for 2 core romanceable characters, Atticus 1 for bachelors, and Hua 1 for bachelorettes. So the non-core cast seems to include Kang, Shin, Stev, Rudy, and Waylon, and Luca, Garnet, Ines, Verica, and Madeline. I am a bit bummed Goaty is not on this list, but you know, in one of their updates they said, now if any of them become super popular, of course we're flexible. So I think we could expect a bit more deeper or more meaningful relationships in Evershine, so we'll still have the reverse confessions, jealousy mechanics, dates, weddings, get them to live with us, kids, you know, all the good core romance mechanics we love. But we'll have even more. First off, there's flirting, which allows you to build emotional connections with NPCs faster. I can't help but wonder how it'll be with the tables turned, and we're the ones that drop some flirty lines to characters, and of course, see how each of them might react based on their personality. Here's an early look at the flirting feature with 4 interactions: praise looks, wink, pickup line, and admire. Again, still in early works, and the content and dialogue may change in future versions. Moving on, there is a hot spring playdate feature. I am trying to keep myself calm, collected, and respectfully look here, but I am struggling. So let me reflect the question back onto you guys. Based on the romanceable characters you've seen or heard about in Evershine, who are you taking to the hot springs? Let me know in the comments below. Another one is cute pajama sets for core romanceable characters. Something about this very small detail is so adorable and very real in the sense that we get to see them beyond their cool, collected, or, you know, everyday interactions or professions. Like, imagine how Avery looks when he's not dressed in commander clothes. Huh? I am digging myself a hole here. I meant how he looks in commander clothes versus pajamas. Okay, you know what? Let's just take a deep breath and get serious for this last additional feature they added in the Kickstarter for romance. They are adding optional rival romance with at least 2 pairs of non-core characters and may even form families. This will be similar to setting up Sonia and Albert and Portia, where you'll have quests to develop those relationships, or you can pursue one of them yourself. Again, this is totally optional, but a really fun conversation point I wanted to bring up. How do you feel about rival romances? Let me know in the comments. Builders, governors. In Sandrock and Portia, we manage our workshops with town buildings that remained in fixed positions from the start, and maybe for some like the schoolhouse, it was predetermined what that building was and where it would be placed. In Evershine, we'll get to decide the placement of the buildings, and this will have an impact on our lives as players, as well as the settlers. For example, maybe you're a huge social butterfly and want to be friends with all the characters. You could make a cute little neighborhood for that with your house nearby. Maybe you're a balanced player who likes to do all the things, so you could just plop your house down in the center of the settlement so you can easily access people and places a lot quicker. Maybe you want productivity at its peak, so you place something like a smelting factory next to the mines so settlers can get to their jobs easier. Or maybe you just want to be super chaotic and you place a rival romance options house on one side of the map and they're pairing at the other to see if they can overcome all odds to be together. My imagination is running in so many different directions with building a town. But before we get too far with that, here are some important notes from a dev announcement. First off, they've been studying very hard and looking at a ton of different games to get the UX system just right, especially with how complicated it felt in Sandrock. And alpha testing will be a great opportunity for any testers out there to make your voices heard on what's working, what could be improved, and how to get there. It sounds like their first target was improving the custom construction for our home as players. We'll be able to arrange and build our yards just as before, but this time though, every wall, door, and even style of our roof can be customized if we want. So for players who love customization, there's a lot to look forward to. Personally, I'm a huge preset builder. I love having prefab designs to choose from, otherwise I get too overwhelmed. If I'm feeling real adventurous, I do like having the ability to tweak a design to my liking. So the good news is there will be those prefab options so you can just drag and drop something where you want to maybe progress the story now and renovate later. One last detail before we move on, a lot of players were worried about how an overly free construction system might affect triggering the plot. And rightfully so, since those features kind of weave into one another like we talked about earlier. Pathia is taking a lot into consideration, so the construction system is being developed with the plot in mind and is considering developing custom construction for other buildings after completing a certain amount of the main story. So in order to build and expand, we'll need to tame territories, which means there's a few different creatures and enemies out here. So far, there's previews of 6, 2 which are named and 4 unnamed. The ones confirmed, the Gnars are way more organized than you'd expect. They go by the Gnar cartel, led by the Tycoonar. Gnar! Sorry, I had to say it. Humans first ran into them during the Age of Darkness, and apparently they could speak our language right away. So yeah, there's a pretty good chance they were cooked up in a lab before the Day of Calamity. They've been trading ever since, mostly wood products in exchange for salt, sugar, food, the usual. You'll still find them dealing with the Alliance, Ethian, and even Duvosian traders. They usually camp out in forests and keep to themselves. They start their mornings off with working to a musical rhythm to boost morale, and then they're sent out into teams to plant trees and chop wood. While they can speak our language, they're pretty quiet and want to be left alone. But there's a chance they can be reasoned with as long as they're not aggressive to the settlers. So my guess here is that maybe they have a certain range of territory where it's like, you shouldn't chop trees here, or we might have some problems because they're the ones planting them. That would be really cool because it adds this nice layer of mindfulness with how we treat our surrounding world in-game. Next up is the Apricrocs. They are not so nice. In fact, they are trained from a very young age into different kinds of mortal combat. So to me, it sounds like we're going to be dodging arrows, spears, and all kinds of weapons to fight these guys. In an update from the devs, they said that one time the Apricrocs made something similar to a cannon, but failed to make wheels, among other things, so the cannon blew up. So it's recommended we keep a close eye on them and distance because they are semi-intelligent in the sense they are trying to mimic human behavior. One that's unknown that I'm really curious about is if you look very close in this image, you'll see Avery and Panna fighting a very cute creature. It has features like a bunny, and if you look at the concept art, it has the stripes of a striped grass mouse, potentially a 13-lined ground squirrel. Both have burrowing behaviors feeding off insects and crops. I know I'm going full Animal Planet here. We can also see here that they can jump pretty high. My best guess is that they could be a little antagonist for garden plots. Their combat might be a mixture of hiding underground and jumping to attack. I'm super curious about their pouches. It makes me wonder if they'll be a stealthy or collector-like creature. Here's another unname we don't know too much about. It looks like a mix between a wild boar and a porcupine. Dare I say we might call this a porcupine? They don't appear to be hostile unless provoked, but something tells me if we do fight them, they might go Super Saiyan. I think that the hair is a giveaway. We also have this fish with a cute lily pad on its head. Its tongue reminds me of a frog, and frogs usually like hanging out on little lily pads. With swimming added as a feature after this concept art preview, I wonder if they're an enemy we'll have to fight while swimming, or if they just appear closer to the shores. And last, my personal favorite, there's a hermit crab with what appears to be a shrimp taco on his back. The little mustache here makes me wonder if they take pride in culinary cuisine. So I wonder if by defeating these creatures we'll get a bunch of useful cooking ingredients. All I can say is that taco looks pretty tasty though. As for human enemies, we are introduced to two different groups, the sky sharks and these big ol' goons. To be completely honest with you, for both of these groups there is literally so much lore and theories. The sky sharks are a group of sky pirates that work for Duvos. We'll save this for another time, but all you need to know is Ursula is back. Is she going to be romanceable? By the light, I hope so. And we'll also see 3 more appearances. This includes Fang, Logan, and the builder of Sandrock. There's a fun history report by Jasmine giving a hint to what we might expect with the return of these 3 characters. Logan went out to the peripheries to fight an S-tier beast known as the Red Eye, and after weeks of exhaustive tracking, managed to defeat it. He was found by Commander Avery and the Northern Rangers and was brought back to Atara to recover. He reunited with Haru and really didn't have any idea what to do with the reward money. He just wanted to go out and fight monsters. Haru suggested using the goals from the bounty to set up a monster hunting office in Sandrock called Howlett's Hunters. After things started settling in Sandrock, Fang joined Howlett's Hunters so he could continue to help more people beyond the town of Sandrock, so he'll be traveling with the guild as an on-site doctor to provide aid to those who need it. With the Sandrock builder involved, or, you know, us from another time, it sounds like as governor, we'll need to bring on Howlett's Hunters and the Sandrock builder for one reason or another. The devs have mentioned we'll be able to customize the Sandrock builder, as well as what type of relationship our builder from Sandrock has with Logan. I am so excited to see how this plays out. Something tells me that something really big is going to happen in Evershine, and we'll need all the help and support we can get. Because Fang was voted in due to a Kickstarter poll vote, I just want to say I think this is incredible story writing and art direction on behalf of Pathia. That means due to having such a large and supportive community, they constantly have to make pivots and expand character stories beyond the town they were living in. It's immersive storytelling and world building at its finest, and I think it's really cool that we'll see the continued development and growth of some of our favorite characters from the past going into Evershine. I know that when the trailer for Evershine was released, there was split opinions on this new art direction. I want to talk about this for just a quick minute. I will have a Sandrock review video upcoming sharing my honest first impressions when I first saw the Portia and Sandrock art styles, Ultimately, it did deter me from playing the games in the first place, but the rich narrative-driven experience, character relationships, lore, world building, and so much more is what drew me in. So as a new player since January to the series, I would say that the art did grow on me after playing and has its own unique charm. But what makes me really happy is watching the vision and passion of a development team grow and evolve alongside its community. They were curious about what the models would look like with new body proportions and a more realistic art style. They kept pushing the envelope and ultimately they were very happy with their new direction. One cute note I saw, I think on Discord, was that the models of Avery, Victor, and Ragnar ultimately boosted the team morale for female employees. I just think that this is so cute, and you can tell that this is a team that is very passionate about what they do. So that means it's going to be a lot of fun with designing our characters. The customization systems already gave us quite a bit to work with in terms of two-toned hair colors and facial features and more. We'll be given even more freedom with a few more things. They did mention multiple hair and hair choices, including proper beards for anyone going for a more masculine character. We'll also have the ability to adjust the height and size of our characters as well. This is also something that makes me really happy because one detail I loved in Sandrock is that your character stands on their little toes to kiss other characters. It's also worth mentioning that in Evershine, after reaching one of the Kickstarter goals, we also made the stretch to get an expanded wardrobe with multiple outfit sets. For players who enjoy co-op, the devs are working on both single and multiplayer for Evershine in tandem, so that way multiplayer does not feel like an afterthought. The game is being designed with story co-op in mind. Here is everything we know so far. Multiplayer will be player hosted with real-time interactions between multiple players and NPCs. Multiplayer can allow a total of 4 followers spread among a maximum of 4 players. So that means when you're in the world, one player could have 3 NPCs following them, which means another player can only have 1. Or of course, if you're playing with 4 people, maybe you want it more balanced so each of you have 1 NPC following for an even spread. Something that's really interesting is that the NPCs are all unique and not instanced. So if a player marries one character, that character will be off the market for the rest. Think of it as having real-time rivals. Here's another thing, money is shared between all players as well as items, unless they're in another player's inventory. The person hosting the game will be able to change the game settings, including the game speed, and anyone can advance the main story, with other players getting a prompt to join a scene or not. I typically don't play co-op a lot, but this sounds like so much fun. Last up, I didn't even talk about the smallest details that I find very exciting. First up, some players have noted a hunger bar in some of the early build screenshots provided by the devs. I had to look real closely because to me that looked like just a health bar. The hunger system adjusts based on the difficulty you choose, allowing you to control how it affects your gameplay by selecting different levels. So this does sound like something that is an optional feature. My guess is in the settings we will probably be able to turn it off completely, or turn it on and adjust it to a way that best fits our playstyle. I like this, it's realistic. Another feature that I've talked about in a Fields of Mysteria video is going to be available in Evershine. Okay, we are getting a bathtub. And no, it's not just for decoration. We can use it and it will restore our stamina and give us other buffs. The devs have also mentioned that NPCs can use it too. Again, please look respectfully. Last up is that you and your followers can go swimming on adventures. I don't have much to say on this except it's going to make travel so much easier and also add to the world's immersion. The game will also be available to play on Steam, including Steam Deck, PS5, Xbox Series, and as far as Nintendo Switch goes, again, here's what they said on their Kickstarter page. While there's no guarantee for the current Switch, if new Nintendo models are released in time for Evershine's launch, we'll aim to support them. We're also exploring the possibility of a mobile version in the future. Okay, so we literally covered so much ground for both new and returning players, and I didn't even touch on the lore I'm so excited to talk about. If you made it through to the very end of this video and you are subscribed, hi, I love you guys. Thank you so much for your continued support. If you're new to the channel and you like farming life sims with rich relationship mechanics or narrative-driven experiences, we already have so much in common, so you should give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, feel free to check out my other videos from this playlist. It's where I'd put more videos about the My Time series if I had them, but I'm slowly but surely building up this library over time. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.